A question some of you more astute viewers might have is, why do you only make content during the summer, or just in general, why is your upload schedule so fucking sporadic? Consider this video an answer to both of those questions. If you couldn't tell, I like art. It's what I spent a solid chunk of my year focusing on. It's almost like it's what I've been studying when I've been away for 3/4 of the year. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about my art. That's the topic of this video. This channel, what's happening on it, and what I make as an artist. Roll the intro. I'm primarily a 4D artist, although I've worked in a lot of different mediums. To the uninitiated, I'd describe 4D art as art's everything else category. If it's not clearly a painting or sculpture, but is clearly art, it's probably 4D. The actual criteria for what makes 4D art is that it is in some way time-based. This would include things like video art, sound art, performance art, installation art, pretty much anything else that you can think of. We will look at one of my artworks as an example, as there's a lot of commonality between my artworks. These are 4 watercolor paintings with digital art projected onto them to make a painting that can have a moving subject. Spring 2023 is where I first came up with the idea, however the hard drive with all the working files on it bricked itself, so that's all I'm really going to say about that one. Because I'm trying to tell a story, I kind of deliberately drew from the same fountain of inspiration to kind of have a more cohesive art style. As for why VTubers, we'll get to that. Although I can guarantee you that some people already know exactly why if you've watched my previous video. This is what it looks like with the projection and not recreated digitally. I think what I like about this format is the temporary nature of it all. It's more of an experience. If you weren't there, you don't get to experience shit. I remade the artwork digitally because, as you can see in the documentation, the figures become even more unreadable after filming them with a camera. Opposed to literally anything else, what the If we're strictly talking what would be traditionally considered art, I see some similarities between this work and 60s pop art with its use of pop culture. If you were to ask me what artwork inspires me, I would gladly explain them to you. Although internally I would be asking myself, are they blind? They're right there. It's not like I'm really hiding them. They're literally the figures of the painting. They're right here. For my first reference, let's address a topic that I've already talked about more than any sane human being ever should. VTubers. I'd explain what a VTuber is, but dear lord have I definitely already done that.
Now, what is a VTuber? An absolute degenerate. But in all seriousness here, a VTuber is a content creator who has chosen to use a digital avatar instead of a regular camera. Think of them kind of like a puppeteer, but just chronically addicted to anime.
That was an excerpt from this video I made for an English class I'm taking. Although calling it a video is just a little bit of lampshading. Well, Noah, why are VTubers appearing in your art? Gee, I sure wonder why. Maybe it's just because they've been on my mind for the past couple of months. What with making a 3,457 word research paper and unintentionally making what should realistically be referred to as a nearly hour-long documentary, both about VTubers. If you want me to break down the individual VTubers, believe me, I already have. They're just not edited yet. Fun fact, those of you who have already seen the VTuber video may now be realizing this intro and outro were both asset flips of these paintings. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is one of my favorite edits that I've made in quite a while. Not every reference I used this year was VTubers though. Some are extremely obvious.
So.
Others are more subtle. Most of the time, the video or audio I work with is just things that are entertaining to me, things that fascinate me. The last thing I should mention is my sound art. This is audio from my work Poyo. Listening back to it now, I find it not at all surprising that this sounds reminiscent of Revolution
Number 9.
off of the White Album. Although less so in sound but more so in process, with both of them taking found audio and collaging them together. There is also the use of effects to distort some of the audio. I once again find myself face down with another VTuber. Revolution number 9 is a music genre called music concrete, while also taking influences from avant-garde music. As for who made it, that's complicated. The Beatles released it on their album The White Album. It's credited as Lennon-McCartney, but Paul McCartney was not in England during its creation. The three people who are listed as working on the track are George Harrison, John Lennon, and Yoko Ono. The presence of Yoko Ono tells me, a seasoned Beatles historian, that this was probably John's baby. In conclusion, do you ever just have a really stupid or funny idea in your head that you kinda just let pass because it's absurd or not practical or probably a mix of both? My art has consistently been what happens when I simply refuse to ignore those thoughts. In other words, my art is what fucking happens when I let the intrusive thoughts win.